Welcome to What Can I Do Wednesday. My name is Laurie King, and this is my friend Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Laurie.
We're on two sides of the country, and so we're meeting up with in the miracle of modern science. And one of the things that has interested me about doing these series of it's hard to think of them as political action because it's not exactly, huge commitment of time and effort, but it's political community building.
Yeah.
Has been working with somebody like Karen, who she says she's not my guru, but she's a little step ahead of me along the line of just getting your voice heard out there.
Yeah.
And so that I thought what would be helpful would be if Karen were to walk me through um, the steps on just making my voice heard on one matter. And we sort of decided this is January 2025. The thing that is coming up most urgently is the confirmation and of the various appointments for the cabinet.
Yes.
And so Karen, where do we start here? It's a Washington, D.C. is a long way from me.
It is a very long way from you. This is true. Yeah, they've already started the hearings on cabinet appointees. So if you want your voice to be heard, you need to step up and do it now. So the first thing to do is to figure out who your senator is if you don't know already.
Now,
And
why senator?
your senator. The cabinet appointees go through the Senate for confirmation.
Not the
First,
House.
they are supposed to get vetted by the FBI and by the transition team, and we don't know what's happening with that. But we do know that Senate committees do vet these nominees, and
And
then
by
after
vetting,
they go through the committee process, they end up in the full Senate for a vote.
so by vetting, we mean looking at their financial background, their health background, their political affiliations,
Their opinions, their, policy positions, what they say they want to do. Yeah, all of those kinds of things.
all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it goes to committees because the committees know the field, so that if somebody is, for defense, you would put it in front of the defense committee because they
Yeah.
know what they're talking about.
That's a presumption. Yeah, we hope that.
That is the theory. So,
That's the theory.
okay. So where do I start? I have
Okay.
an opinion on an appointee. So where do I start to get my voice, my little voice all the way over here in California heard?
Okay. We'll go through the simple piece first, which is just if you want to just contact your senator and say, I don't think you should confirm this person because of these issues. You need to find who your senator is and write to them.
Okay, so I'm going to do screen share here.
And you go to
And
congress.gov, which Lori will show you.
and here we are.
Yep.
So writing your senator. And I think we need to note that a number of the things that we're looking at are for the last one. So they are in the process of approving and they will finalize things. So quite a bit of what you see when you go looking at these is for the 118th Congress, and we are the 119th Congress. Is that right?
That is correct.
I got
Some
it
of the
right.
committee positions will stay the same, but some of them will
Yeah,
also have gotten
yeah.
shuffled around.
Especially in the
So
Senate.
in the Senate, on the
Yeah.
official government, the .gov sites, they still have the 118th because
Yeah.
the committee positions have not yet been ratified by the full new Senate.
Right, right. So in a bit, we'll get down to how you double check. But okay,
Yeah.
so I want to start with who are my senators?
There you go.
And I will look at
Congress.gov.
open. And there we are. So this is, I found this site fascinating. There's just so much stuff on it. You could just sort of get lost. And I'm not really
Yes.
a political person, but what we're looking at key now is this little corner here where it says contact your member. So you find your member or plural members. And I am going to put my zip code in here, which is 95063. And it then says that my possible members are these three gentlemen. Senator Alex Padilla, representative, that's in the House of Representatives rather than the Senate. So we're not going to be talking about him today, just because we're talking about the cabinet. And Senator Adam Schiff. So there's other things that you can find on there, but let us first go. Oh, and you should also note here that there's a phone number, which you like to phone people sometimes, don't you?
I have phoned people on occasion. I will say it's faster to phone.
Mhm.
I have phoned them while I've been driving in my car and just said, "Hi, this is Karen Vise, and yeah, blah blah blah," and I wanted to express my opinion on this.
Yeah.
Um, but
And
emailing is a lot less stressful for most people. Most people are don't. It's hard to pick up the phone and call people, cold call.
and is there any difference, do you think, in how how it registers at that end?
It really does not. Things that matter are you clear? Are you succinct? Are you, factual? Are you being abusive? They're going to discard are you being totally weird? And I will say, like, for the more attractive female members of the House of Representatives and Senate, they get some really out there phone call.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
so that either calls or email, not writing a snail mail letter?
That is correct. Snail mail is, a fine way to contact someone, but not on a timely issue because it has to go through a security process, which is slow. They have to make sure it doesn't have anthrax in it or a bomb in it or
Yeah.
all of the lovely things that people have sent to the Senate and House of Representatives.
But
Um,
either a phone call or an email gets seen probably by an intern first.
well, either an intern or a staff member. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
But
they know you have,
every single piece will get looked at and will get noted,
yeah. So
whether it is an email or a phone call.
which is why you have to be clear, because if they're looking at 300 emails this week, you need to make sure that you say, this is my name, this is who I am, and this is what I think you should do and why.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they need to be able to boil it down into sort of bullet points, really. So,
Yes. You want
okay.
short and sweet. You
Okay.
don't want to go on a lengthy diatribe about all of the terrible things or on the other hand, all the wonderful things that someone is doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So assuming that I don't want to write to the Hart Senate office building or that I don't want a phone call,
Right.
how do I find Alex Padilla? So there is his listing. At a
Hmm.
certain point, I think this thing over here where the cursor is
Yeah.
pointing will have the up-to-date committee assignments. But
Yes.
anyone who was there last year will probably have an accurate set of listings for, especially for the Senate. So, but assuming I don't want to know that now, what I just want to know is how to contact
Yes.
Senator Padilla. And it will take me to his very businesslike website. Now, I found that most of them look kind of the same. So this must be a format for the .gov thing, right?
It probably is. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's variations. I know for my two senators, they were a little bit different, but
yeah,
they all seem to have a
yeah,
newsletter sign up and a write to me or
right.
email me or something.
So if you want to know where they actually are, I mean, Senator Padilla has quite a few different locations all over the state because California is a big state. And so
Yes.
he's everywhere from Sacramento down to San Diego. They are there rarely, but if there's, for some reason, especially if you want to take a group to see people, I guess you could make an appointment. So,
Yes.
but I want to write to Alex. So I need to use the form. And step one is to, what is it that I'm trying to do? Request I love the idea of requesting a flag flown over the US Capitol.
Yeah, that's a thing. They fly a new flag every day.
I know, but my flag that I fly over my house is a pirate flag, and I love the idea of flying. Fly. Can I
Let's fly that
request?
one over the Capitol.
Can I request the reverse that you fly my flag over the Capitol? So, but I wish to share my opinion or comments on bills or other issues. So
Yeah.
this is me. So I put in my name. And then I need to fill out my contact information. But much as I love everybody out there, I'm not going to put my street address. So I'm going to go off screen share for a moment.
Yep.
And I am going to then pop over while you can't see me and fill out my screen share information.
Mm-hmm. You will have to, whether you phone call or email, you will have to share where your location is. They
Yeah,
do that because they want to make sure that you're a constituent of theirs.
sure. Yeah, because they're
You
not
know, I
interested in
wanted
people who
to
are not.
email somebody. I'm forgetting who it was now. And they were like, No, you're not a constituent. No, we don't. No."
Yeah,
It's like, all right, them, I would have to send a snail mail letter to.
yeah, yeah. So if I want to write Alex Padilla on, for example, let's see, I need to, let's say I wanted to write healthcare. Now, I couldn't find anything in the list on cabinet nominations.
No.
There are judiciary issues, but healthcare is close enough.
Sometimes they have congressional issues.
Yeah,
Um,
but
you
I
know,
think
or just Congress, or
it's
sometimes they have other. I have found that everyone I've written to has a slightly different list. So sometimes you just have to kind of go with best fit.
and I will say cabinet confirmation, um, Health and Human Services, HHS. Now, I conveniently for this purpose have written a letter already because I didn't want people to have to sit here and look at me write this letter. So I will then paste it in there. Dear Senator Schiff. Now we're going to talk in a little bit about the form letter, but I write as one of your constituents over my concern that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. might be confirmed as head of the Department of Health and Human Services. And I give my reasons why it concerns me and what I think you should do. That is vote against him and talk to his colleagues about voting against him. And then I thank him.
Yeah.
So
You
is
want to
the,
change the name of the senator, Lori.
I'm sorry?
Change the name of the senator up at the
Oh,
top.
oh,
Yeah.
yes, sorry.
Mm. Well, it's a good idea to email both of them. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but you
Um,
can use, as Lori probably did, use the same letter.
yeah,
They just
yeah.
need the information. They're not going to be, their staff is not comparing notes.
No, no. So is a response required? Not really. Do I want to sign up for updates? Sure, why not?
Sure,
And
why
then
not?
then I submit it. There was a problem with my submission.
All right. Well, we can
Well,
go back and fix
anyway,
that
we'll
one
worry
later.
about that later. But that's basically how we're doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
There you
so
go.
what I'm going to do when I put this up is I'm going to put some of the links that I'm talking about, and also I think that sample letter, I will put them in the comments so anyone can see them and compare them because
Right.
you
Right.
don't, I don't expect anyone to be whizzing through this, but I will put it in the comments.
Yeah.
So if we then are looking at the people who are voting, that's all the senators. When we're
Yes.
talking about the cabinet appointments.
Yes. The cabinet appointments, the entire Senate, all 50 of them, or no, 100 of them, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they vote.
Mhm.
They do have a tendency to follow party lines.
Yeah.
If your senator gets enough mail and phone calls and concerns constituents saying this person is a sincere and deep problem, they do start to listen because they all would like to get reelected.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
And I think that, I mean, in my case, I happen to have two senators that I usually agree with, not everything, but I usually agree with. I'm very fortunate. But California, I'm as lefty as California is, most of California.
really.
Um, but other people are not. I mean, so what
Right.
if you have a senator who is, you have two senators, every state has two senators. So what if you have two senators who are the complete opposite end of the spectrum from you? Um,
It's, it,
what? Tell me a little bit about what kind of language you should use. What's your best approach?
Well, just showing up is one thing because most 99.99% of their constituents don't.
Yeah, they don't
So
write, they
just the
don't
fact
talk.
that you are speaking up
Hmm.
is really important
Yeah,
and gets noticed,
yeah,
just if because they figure if somebody is saying this, uh, there's probably 100 or 300 or 500 more people who are also thinking the same thing.
yeah.
So that's one reason it's important to show up. The other thing you can do is think about what their policy positions are and how you might tailor your message to fit them. So, for instance, you're concerned about Kennedy for the Health and Human Services because one of the reasons is because he's anti-vax. Um, and if your senator is fervently pro-life, you could present that as a position for pro-life. I am concerned about this will kill our children. This
Mhm.
will kill people, and this is not a pro-life position. Whether you're pro-life or not, we don't need to know that
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah.
But that is if you can find a way to wedge your opinion into their policies that is going
Common
to
ground.
align, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine that it would also help, although you don't want to drive your friends crazy, but if you get into conversations with your friends and they say, "Oh God, it makes me crazy," then to say to them, "Okay, this is what I've done, and I think that it helps." And if I can get 10 people to write,
Yeah. I mean,
it
you
would,
could stand there with your phone and say, okay, here's your senator. I'm filling in your information for you. Here's a little letter I wrote. You want to copy and paste?
yeah,
Okay, press send.
yeah. Yeah, and you can copy and paste stuff because
You
it's
can.
if you find a letter that you like, I mean,
Yeah,
anyone's welcome to use my letter for things. It's it's
exactly.
just
Yeah.
co copy and paste, as I said.
Copy and paste away.
Um,
They just need the information. They're not comparing, notes
yeah,
necessarily.
yeah, and you want to keep it short anyway, so why
Yep.
not make it?
Yep.
So let's just talk a little bit about the kind of stepping up and getting into the more complex things of not instead of just writing all senators on the same ground. Say I have a senator on the Health and Human Services committee. What do I do? Um,
You can
how do I approach that?
you can write to them as a member of that committee and say, this is a deep concern of mine. Please vote, please do not allow this person to go for the full Senate. I don't think this should happen.
So, is my senator on a vetting committee?
That's a good question. Let's find out
Ethics, tacts, whatever.
something.
Um, First you have to know what committee's vetting a candidate. And some of them are pretty obvious, and some of them are kind of not.
Are kind of not. So if you scroll back up on your little screen where it says who are the cabinet nominees, Lori can click on that. And Ballotpedia is a very non-biased, very factual um, site. It's not going to give you a deep dive into anyone, but it will give you a deep dive into just how this works, what's going on, what's happening. And it's particularly useful for local races. When we get into that at some point, we
Yeah,
can talk about that. But it's a good
yeah. We're
spot to
just
find
we're
out
just
information about local.
this little section here. So if we go here on the transition, there's two
Mm-hmm.
sections. One of them are the nominees, and the other is how they're confirmed, which is
Right.
interesting and also has some valuable information. So if we look at the cabinet that he proposes, these are the positions. So this is the overview. And so Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and it's foreign relations that is looking at it.
Yes.
So, and they're all, it's all in there so that if I wanted to look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr., there he is, and it is the help. The,
Oh,
the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions slash F, help uh, committee. Um, so if we then go back to how they're nominated,
mhm,
it gives, again, there's another overview. Um, and tells you kind of how long it's going to take and so, some interesting things about that. So, um, but as I said, you can
you can dive
you
as
find
deep as you
yourself
want
falling
on
into
this. You
these
can go for
holes.
a long ways.
I know. But to look back at, so that tells you who the nominees are. And it also gives a brief bio for each one, what their
Mhm,
background is, how they voted, who they supported, that kind of stuff. And
right.
as Karen said, it's not partisan. They just say exactly
These are
what
the
the person,
facts.
where they come from. So which is
Yep.
really helpful.
Yeah.
So once you know who the nominees are and what department is in charge of it. You can then look at, okay, so who's on that Health and Services Committee? And down here is the committee that my senators are on. Now, this is going to be on that .gov page,
Oh,
but
no,
as
yeah.
we said, it's 119th is ahead of the record keeping because they're not approved yet. But I converted some long things into tiny URLs because they're easier to type in. So for anyone who needs to type it rather than click on it, it's easier to do. So that, for example, the Democrats, this is a press announcement, which one assumes is accurate. So it tells you all about agriculture, appropriations committee, armed services, banking, commerce. Um, And some of them you have to sort of, when you first come across the term help, you think, what is that? And that's the health education and so.
Yeah.
So this tells you who is on that committee. So
Yes.
that I don't have, and there aren't any Californian senators on there. But
Right.
if I am living in Virginia, I can talk to Senator Kane
Yes. I see that
about.
my new Senator Kim is on there. So that's
So
something I can contact Senator Kim about.
So if you are contacting Senator Kim about Robert
Mhm.
Kennedy and you're not happy about him, um, now would be the time to do it, right?
Right.
Because
Right. Because they probably didn't make it into work today or yesterday because of the snow in DC, but they're going to be showing up and having these committee meetings. And yeah,
so
so
what you want to say to that person is slightly different from the overall vote against,
yeah,
in that you want them to really push. You
yes,
want them to be really critical of that candidate
yes,
and to put together a package, as it were, of this is what this committee feels on this candidate.
yes, yeah.
So, and
These senators are questioning the committee, the cabinet nominees in these meetings.
yeah,
So if you have, I want you to ask Kennedy this question.
mhm,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I want you to find out if he really feels that,
Yes.
that AIDS doesn't cause HIV or,
Other way around, but yeah. Yeah.
yes, sorry, that HIV doesn't cause AIDS, but, is
We just,
that we're, we're not going there simply because this is going to make us crazy.
this is
But
going to make my head explode.
this is something that it's the job of the vetting committee.
Yes.
And these senators are our employees.
Yes.
Now we
Yes.
owe them
Yes.
respect.
Yeah.
We owe them a polite approach rather than, oh my God, I can't believe you did this.
Yes.
Um, but we
But
need to be a boss who
yeah.
expects certain things of our employees
Yes.
and who makes it clear that if they fall down on the job,
Yeah. They are failing you.
The
They
next
are
time
failing the
we have,
American public. Yeah.
the next time we have a ballot in front of us, they're not going to have the check mark on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you don't want to threaten them. You don't even want to threaten them with, not voting for them, because that's clear.
Right.
If you care enough to write a letter, you care enough when the next vote comes around.
Yes. Yeah. So, so
Okay.
there you go. Your assignment for this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, Karen, I think you do it sort of regularly, don't you?
Fairly regularly,
Yeah.
probably not as often as I really would like to, but yeah, every week, every other week, I generally have something that comes up that I'm like, all right, I'm emailing, I'm phone calling, whatever.
But it's good to know who my senator, what committees my senator is on, so that
Yes, that's
when I hear
helpful.
something in the news about, some agriculture outing, or something that is coming up for a vote, a bill, for example, rather than a person,
Yeah,
I can reach out to them because I already know, that this senator is on that committee, and therefore, so
this
it's a
is
good
something to
thing
know.
to make a sort of permanent note of who, because then you can just fill it in automatically, and
Right.
it comes ahead. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing, these things will come up in the news. Oh, there's this bill has been proposed. This bill is the, and you need to know that, is it been proposed and it's going to committee, or is it about to land on the floor of the House and be voted on? Those are different places.
yeah.
And same thing with the nominees,
Mhm.
right now, I know I just read a headline and didn't have time to read the article, but it was, Elizabeth Warren is questioning Hegseth on, so clearly they're having those
Yeah.
committee
Yeah.
meetings right now.
And one of those gov pages does have a thing of what's going on in the Senate now,
Yes.
so
Yes.
you can keep track of it. I mean, I think that the whole point of having these Wednesday sessions is that you don't have to keep track of it 7 days a week.
No, no,
Because
it would
that
make you
is making
crazy.
us crazy.
But there are people out there who do in fact keep track of it 7 days
Yeah,
a week.
sure.
Um,
And great.
yeah.
But for the rest of us, I think that having the sense of this is a community, this is our voices that need to be felt and
Hmm.
heard, and 2025 is a new game.
Yeah.
I think that if we thought that we could sit back and let the people in Washington actually do their jobs, they're clearly not going to do it without us getting involved. So,
No, no, no.
so
So
in the
yeah,
future,
and
I think.
you feel like you have a very tiny, small voice. You're only one person,
Mhm.
but it's like the snowflakes that make up the blizzard. That's what we're doing.
We are but two snowflakes, Karen.
We are but two snowflakes, but we're trying to drum up a blizzard here.
Yeah, and I think if we just I have committed to spending 2025 with my Wednesdays doing something,
Doing
either
something.
posting a video or a book I've read or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people in the Laurie King mystery reading community will join in on making our
Yeah.
voices felt, because
Yeah.
I think we're all
It's
community
important.
people. So
There's somebody I follow who says if you want a better country, says it all the time, be a better citizen.
yeah,
And we all need to kind of take that one to heart.
yeah, yeah.
There's ways we can be better citizens. So yeah.
And we'll start with writing our senator concerning Senate confirmations. So,
Yes. And all of this, Lori's going to be putting in the comments, so you don't have to, rewind, or if that's not what you do. But um, yes, how old
scroll.
am I?
Okay.
But you'll be able to find all this information in the comments. So
And in the future, we're talking about different things, and we'll
yeah,
go into the House of Representatives, and we'll go into a lot of local stuff, I think, because local is good. And
local is really important,
yeah,
way more important than people realize. Yes.
yeah. So,
So yeah.
and I will say that anyone who's watching this who has a specific recommendation or request,
Yes.
let me know.
Yes. Put it in the comments because we will see it. And yep. put
So,
our little heads together and do something.
so I thank you, and I hope you manage to sit down for 5 minutes today and go on to the Senate government thing and manage to have your voice felt.
Thank you, Laurie, for doing this. This is great.
Thank you so much, Karen. Bye-bye.